Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Q3 Investor Conference Call of Wall Street Finance Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be no opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal the operator by pressing star then 0 on your touch-tone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. Material and information in this conference call is general background about the company's activity as at the date of this presentation. Information in this presentation should not be considered as advice or a recommendation to investors or potential investors in relation to holding, purchasing or selling security and does not take into account your particular investment objectives, financial situation or needs. This information is given in the summary form and does not purport to be complete. I now hand the conference over to Mr. N. Srikrishnan, CEO and Whole-Time Director, and Mr. Dipesh Dharod, Chief Financial Officer. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. This is Sri Krishna here, along with my colleague Dipesh.
Good evening, all.
And it's a pleasure to connect once again after quite some time to present our financials for the Q3 and the 9 months ended 31st December 2021. As always, we start with a small presentation of the company, give a latest update on what's happening in the company, the strategic direction in which we are progressing, along with an update on the digital initiatives, besides the results which we'll be talking about. We've already uploaded the presentation on the company's website as well as the BSE website. So over to the presentation. A brief introduction about Wall Street. So we concentrate more on the last 3-4 years where the company has been progressing in the forex space post the sale of its MTS's business. So Wall Street is a AD Category 2 license holder from Reserve Bank of India. It's listed in BSE, and today we are a ISO 27001 certified company. Last 3-4 months back, we were selected for the RBA sandbox for cross-border remittances, and we were able to test our product in the sandbox. So we can say with this, we have established ourselves as a forex fintech with a cross-border remittance product. What exactly we have been doing? What is the journey we have taken in the last 4 years? One is, after post-sale of MTS's business, moving from a traditional money-changing, wholesale-centric business to a retail forex business with stress on students and millennials. This has been a key focus, and this strategy had helped us over the 4 years. Last 2 years was struck by pandemic, and this focus of moving from wholesale to remittances had really helped the company, because during this pandemic period, only remittance was the business available, and we were able to generate some revenue from this activity. We have a network of 16 branches pan-India, and we also have digital platforms for all our segments. Today, more than 50% of our business in the corporate side comes from the corporate platform. We have an agent platform for our agent partners, and we also have our consumer offering in the form of an app. Besides managing the smart currency card, which was a BIN-sponsored card, which we launched a couple of years back. Coming back to the RBA sandbox testing, we were able to showcase our product called WSFX SecuSmart Remit, which is a fully digital product for outward remittances under LRS. I will be discussing in detail later in this presentation on this product. We have a good base of customers. We have strong partners like HDFC, Credila, Incred, Landmark. We also have large corporates like ENY, Hexaware, Siemens, Mphasis, Persistent System, who use our services. Obviously, being in the travel space where we are dependent on international travel, last 7 quarters we have been affected by the COVID pandemic. Going to the next slide, this just gives a overall view of what we have done in the digital side. Focused on creating platforms. In the last 3 years, we have built platforms for all our businesses. And today we are happy to say we have customers, a healthy number of customers onboarded, and we are transacting. Last 2 years, as I said, pandemic has impacted us in a very severe manner. Now coming to the highlights of Q3. So I'll talk a little bit of Q2 also. Q3, in a sense, we can feel happy that for the first time we saw some growth in corporate and leisure segment. Over the last 6 quarters, it was more or less not there because of pandemic. But since there was a slight opening up, we saw a surge, but not enough because still there were pandemic fears. In the later part of the quarter, we had this Omicron effect also. But what is positive is now this segment is also picking up. These people started traveling. But since borders were not open, we couldn't see the level of business we were expecting did not happen. Q3 signifies, a kind of a holiday season. If you look at it in foreign exchange, Q3 is a kind of a lean season where people come to India. And student season gets over by September. So between Q2 and Q3, we saw a dip in our students business because students business is a seasonal business where the peak is for 4 to 5 months in a year. So naturally, we had a dip in the students business in October and November. Earlier and all, during this period, we will have encashment support with NRIs coming back to India and people coming to India as a tourist location. But because of pandemic, that business is not available to us. From a financials perspective, we were at a net revenue of INR 3.51 crores in Q3 from INR 4.46 in Q2. So there was a degrowth of 21% quarter on quarter, but as I explained to you, students, which is the main thing and the only business available, tapers down in Q3. When it comes to expenses, we were at INR 5.32 crores. We had a loss of around 2.05 crores for the quarter as against only 14 lakhs on Q2. An important update on digital is this RBI regulatory sandbox. We were selected for our product and we did our testing in Q3. In fact, we completed our testing in February 7th. It was the entire Q3 plus 1 month we did the testing. This is a fully integrated solution where we have showcased our digital onboarding process including video KYC, Aadhaar e-sign. We have also done integration with Visa Direct to transfer funds to international to the beneficiaries' international debit card. This is the first time this has happened and we have been able to successfully showcase this also. Now the testing is complete. We will be waiting for the next set of steps we will take on this. Next slide, we talk of a comparison between the various quarters and the same period last year. If you look at it from an overall perspective, our income has grown, So between Q3 of current year and the Q3 of previous year, we have shown a 59% growth. Our gross revenues were at around 7.72 crores as against 4.86 crores. Net revenue was also at a 45% growth, 3.51 against previous year's 2.42 for the same period. But at a PBT level, we remained the same because our expenses had picked up because we had to, now with market opening up, we had to go back to the current levels of salary because last year we had done a lot of COVID-related measures. When we compare Q3 to Q2, you can see there is a degrowth of 19% because from 9.55 crores we went to 7.72 crores. As I explained, even though other segments picked up, student has been the largest segment with 80% of our revenues. Student business comes down in Q3, again it picks up in December and January. So we had a dip. From a net revenue perspective, we degrew from 4.45 crores to 3.51, which is a 21% drop. At a PBT level, we were at a 2.04 crore loss against 14 lakhs for the previous quarter. On a 9-month comparison, that is from April to December, we saw from a revenue perspective, gross revenue, the growth has been 60%, net revenue was 40%, but at a PBT level, we were at 3.9 crores loss against last year 4.8 crores. Now, I will hand over this call to Dipesh, who will give you a flavor of the quarter-on-quarter comparison, etc.
Thank you, Sri Krishna sir. Good evening, shareholders and investors. In continuation to the PPT that we have uploaded, when we talk about comparative charts, quarter on quarter, here are just 11 quarters, the last 11 quarters that we have shared with you. This is a graphical representation of the same. The first chart contains the gross and the net revenues, and the second one contains the expenses. When you look at it from quarter 1 of 1920, which was pre-COVID, to quarter 3 of 2021, and quarter 3 of 1920 to quarter 3 of 21-22, we are almost back at the same level with regard to our gross revenues, where we had clocked 989 lakhs in Q2 of 1920. We have come back to 956 lakhs in Q2 of 21-22. So the pre-COVID levels are coming in, things are opening up, and we see this happening, and we see better revenues hereafter. Further, with regard to expenses, they have marginally increased, as Mr. Krishna did mention, that some salaries had to be restored, some rollbacks of concessions which were given earlier had to be again brought back to the original levels. Now I move to the next slide, which talks about our priority segment, which is majorly our cards, prepaid bill sponsor cards, and the outward remittances. When we talk about Q3 in particular, from 1920 to 2021 to 21-22, we see a very big growth. From quarter 3 of 1920, where we were 31% above the rate, now we are 42% above the base. So that shows that the amount or the figures have grown to pre-COVID levels. That remains consistent for even outward remittances, where earlier also it was 109% of the growth, today also it is 909% of the growth. So this looks like we are out of the pandemic, or the pre-pandemic and pre-pandemic levels have again flown back. Moving on to the next slide. This is aligned by a tabular display of all the figures for the last 11 quarters, giving you each line item and each figure in a particular quarter-on-quarter thing, where you can see the revenues for the current quarter. The total revenue from the operation is 772 lakhs against an expenditure of 530 lakhs, and overall a PBT loss of 204.52 lakhs and a PAT of 143.09 lakhs. I won't run through all the figures, it's just a comparison where you can have a look at it. Next slide, it talks about our results, which is already published, where you have a quarter-on-quarter comparison and a 9-month comparison between the numbers. Next, to give the digital journey, I will hand over to Mr. Krishna, who will talk about the digital journey for Wall Street Finance. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Dipesh. A quick roundup on the digital part of the business. We have multiple platforms. We have a corporate platform where, as of today, we have 200 plus corporates. We have an agent platform where we have nearly around 390 plus agents onboarded. We have our own smart currency card with app. In fact, once the travel has resumed, we have seen a healthy growth in this product, and as Dipesh had shown in his earlier slides, our card business is slowly coming to pre-pandemic levels, and we expect the growth to happen. In fact, we are optimistic that once with us slowly, the global economy is opening up, less travel restrictions, we are hopeful of a very good summer season where leisure picks up in a big way besides corporate. We also have a smart FX portal and app, wherein you can do both remittances and card transaction. When it comes to the last slide I talk about, the most important thing for us, which has been our selection in the RBI regulatory sandbox testing. So this has been a kind of a unique opportunity where we were selected. We were among the 8 people selected to showcase our product, and we have done the testing of the product. What is unique is we are able to demonstrate very clearly with actual user testing how a complete digital process of onboarding. Besides, we were able to also show that we had integrated our product with compliance checks, checks, PAN validation, passport validation, etc. Wherein what we could seamlessly do all the checks, AML checks also in this, and then process the transaction without any need to physically see the customer or take a signature. We could get it validated through Aadhaar e-sign and subsequently route the transactions either to the beneficiary's bank account or first time we have done it to the overseas beneficiary's Visa, international Visa debit card linked to his bank account, which is a kind of a first time which is happening, which is what we have showcased and tested in this thing. And one other thing where we got permission, in which we have done transactions to show this is, we are allowed permission to do transactions under family maintenance, gift and investment for debt and equity. So these are 3 categories which was not available to AD2. We were permitted and we were able to show that we could handle these transactions in this manner. What is so special about these Visa direct transfers and all is, we can today transfer money all 7 days. Like there is no holiday, anything. I can transfer money, and wherever it is fast fund enabled, I could transfer the money in as fast as 10 minutes. I've seen customers very happy with the way the transfers happen. So this is something revolutionary which is there. We are hopeful that now the testing is over and post-evaluation, we may be allowed approvals for this product. And we are hopeful that there will be a good reception for this, because whatever we got as a feedback was very good for this entire product. So with this, I would come to the end of my presentation. We are now with the pandemic, with Omicron, we are seeing the pandemic effect coming down with economies opening up in February. We saw a lot of countries relaxing their testing guidelines. So we are hopeful that besides students, now we will see a good pickup of leisure and corporate segment, which is very important for us, because for last 8 quarters we have only gone with one pillar, that is our student remittances. Now we will have the other segments opening up, and we look forward to a good subsequent quarters to be good ones. That's what we are hopeful. And with this I come to the end of my presentation. Now I'd like to hand over the conference to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin with the question and answer session. Anyone wishing to ask a question may please press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Rishi from HNI Investments. Please go ahead. Rishi,
Hello.
your line is unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
Sir, many thanks for the opportunity. So you've said a lot of things about your digital transformation. Now, we are seeing your company from last 4 years. I have invested in your company around 7 years ago. With all due respect to your chairman and to the management team, we are not able to increase the revenue as projected. Some of them maybe because of the macro factors, but this digital transformation, do you really feel on the ground it is working? Because, if I have to travel to US or London, why I'll keep the digital currency with me or the money transfer through that? So what is the scope of that digital transformation? What's your internal assessment that how much your business will expand with this technology-based products, what you have given in your presentation? If you can just explain us that or guide us in the right fashion and manner, that would be great, sir.
Okay. So that's what I always given a history. When we sold MTS's business was the number one priority. We sold it and we concentrated on Forex. At that time, it was decided at a strategic basis that we will expand through our digital proposition. So we started building a couple of platforms. We didn't want to remain in one B2C offering because B2C offering sometimes takes a lot of time to take traction. Because from a compliance angle, there are a lot of processes which needed a physicality when we started the journey. Because when we started the digital journey, that was the time we thought we will do Aadhaar OTP based authentication. But if you remember in 2017, Aadhaar OTP based authentication we could no longer use because of the ruling, Supreme Court ruling and all. So we had to focus on B2B initially. So our company's idea was how do we expand without, because everything was moving digital, without geographical expansion, without increasing cost exponentially, because money changing was more a physical sort of a business. How do we grow our business from, being an asset-light organization where we don't have to expand physically, but how do we expand through the digital proposition was the fundamental discussion at a strategic level we had. And what were the priority segments which we need to focus on? Because Wall Street heritage was a traditionally wholesale business heritage. So strategically it was decided to move away from currency business to remittances and cards. That was the first strategic objective. Second was also to ensure we can reach geographically without a physical network, which is very expensive considering the margins were going down in the business. So we set about doing this and we built platforms for each of the segments. And if today, even whatever corporate business we have, 55% of the transactions come through our platforms only, because we have integrated with multiple large corporates. Now this was the fundamental objective in which we grew the business. So from 35, 36 plus branches, we are today at 16 branches. But if you look at it from a NR perspective, we have grown it 3 times. When we took over in 2017 to where we were pre-corona, we had literally gone to 3 times of the net revenue in a single month. So what we say is it was working fine for us where each customer was coming in. Obviously, initially there was a lot of resistances because people did not realize the need for digital. At that time, enough network was, but the COVID has changed that mindset also. In the last 1 to 2 years, we can see people very receptive to look at integrating with our platform, etc. So what has happened is suddenly we got a root shock 2 years back in February last week where entirely travel came to a standstill. So we have been only talking because we did everything. We launched our Yes Bank card. We had a small challenge in March and April 2020. We had pandemic coming in, where international travel stopped. Now, thanks to at least one part of our strategy, we were able to at least get the remittance business. If you look at my remittance business, it has gone to pre-pandemic levels, even though my other businesses are not there. So our strategy, in a way, digital strategy did not give us results because simply put, last 2 years, corporate travel, leisure travel has not been there. But our remittance strategy of focusing on students did pay off because whatever revenue we are booking is only from that segment which has been going on for the last 18 months. Now we feel with us, and there was also some more challenges where thanks to certain rules and regulations, we were not able to literally give a contactless solution, which we have demonstrated in SecuSmart Remit. Earlier, if you go through Master Directions KYC, we were not allowed Aadhaar. We were not allowed Aadhaar OTP and all. Today, for my digital process, last year only we got permission to do video KYC. Second is, now only we got permission to add DigiLocker, which is an Aadhaar OTP based validation. So there were also some regulatory bottlenecks where we had to wait for the guidelines to change to make it a complete contactless experience. We are with the SecuSmart remit, we are able to validate it through live transactions, and we are confident that whatever we have been talking or trying to do will turn into a profitable proposition in the coming quarters. Because simply put, when I am doing only one leg of business, there is that much only I can end up doing, But as I said, we have stuck on, despite all these things, we have stuck on to our goals and objectives. And today we can say, because in a way we have been validated by being selected for a regulatory sandbox project. So we say that our site is correct, our vision is correct. Only thing is now the revenues have to come in to validate it, and we appreciate all of you for your patience also and your trust on us.
Okay. So to cut the long story short, can you please explain when we will be EBITDA positive, sir, at least?
See, as I said now, I told you, if you look at Q2 result, if you see Q2, we were only 15 lakhs at loss with only one segment. Q2, if you see the result, Q3 May we had only students business happening on December. Now Q4 May we started well in January. Now the moment we have travel resuming in leisure and corporate, we are confident we will be EBITDA positive, because with only students business we can only be successful in 5 to 6 months. If we have to be 12 months successful, we need to have the other segments picking up, but with Omicron going off, we are confident that with travel resuming, and we are expecting a bumper summer season also. If people don't travel, I cannot commit anything. If people start traveling, we definitely are seeing positive results.
Okay. And one more thing, sir. We've requested your company secretary to put KMP notice, key managerial person notice. That is not coming on the BSc this thing. So can I please have your email ID? I've got some specific queries which I don't want to discuss on this call, sir. Can I have your email ID to send you the mail?
Sure, sir. We will communicate. You may send the email ID to our company secretary. She will communicate and we'll have it done to you. We'll send the email IDs of the KMPs.
No, I request her. I've already requested earlier also by mail that you should put a KMP notice, key managerial person notice, every quarter on your website and on a BSc notices also, where small investor like us should communicate, sir. And that is mandatory by law, and email ID in both the mobile numbers or a landline direct number should be written in that. Because you just write down one number, because a lot of time when the lockdown is there, we are not able to contact you guys, sir. Just to understand the business, nothing more, sir.
No problem. We will share it across, because since this is the first time you have shared it in this communication, I don't know how it got missed out. We will do the needful.
So nice of you, sir. So nice of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1. The next question is on the line of MS Seth from GT Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. This is Nimis Sheth. Mr. Sri Krishna, Dipesh, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. Tough environment, so congratulations. We are happy that you're continuing with your digital initiatives, because that's what is actually going to help the company going forward. A couple of questions. Are we pretty much done with the investments on the digital front, the bulk of the investments? That's one. Two, along with these investments and the losses we made in the past few quarters, how much cash do we now have, and are we looking to raise any capital, rights issue or anything, any equity?
So to answer the first question, major investments are done. As far as we have got, all the platforms are live. Obviously, whatever expenses we are incurring are more recurring in nature towards, because we need to have a permanent digital team. When we have a fintech thing, we need a team. So that is all booked as regular expenditure only.
Correct.
Obviously, the fintech revenues have to start picking up now, because, since, as I mentioned earlier also, except for the one leg, I don't have leisure or corporate or anything at this juncture to talk of, which is tangibly giving me a huge revenue stream. But we are hoping that in this coming year, there will be a good amount of transition where we can clearly see that digital is bringing in this sort of revenues. That part of it, we are confident once things pick up. As far as, cash is concerned, Dipesh?
Yeah, with regard to cash in the business, we still have about 13 to 15 CR in our business. Hope we, minimize the losses and go back to the positive, so that should not be an hindrance to the business.
Yeah. So coming back to requirements of capital, right? That's the fundamental thing. So essentially, we have 3 legs of business, right? We have corporate business, we have wholesale business, we have retail and remittance business. Wholesale business is one which is capital intensive, but over the last 4 years, we have slowly moved away from that part of the business because, as I said, currency was something which we had slowly de-stressed on. And during the pandemic time, since travel was not there, wholesale segment is something which we have not really concentrated on. And going forward also, our focus has moved firmly to the other segments of retail and remittances. So one area where I will not require capital much is wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
Leisure and remittances are cash and carry business. Except for certain specific customers, it is generally cash and carry. I get your payments first and do the remittances. So primarily a major part of it I will be able to handle without much capital because this is all retail model. There's one other model which I do need capital over a period. We have always been discussing with the banks for increasing the limits, etc. So corporate business, when it picks up, we may have a need for capital, but as I said, it's gradually picking up. So that is something which we need to address that concern. But as of now, to run our current business, we are adequate because our primary revenue spinners, at least even for the next 3 to 6 months, we hope is only from the retail and remittance because we are hoping for a faster leisure pickup than a corporate pickup. But corporate, when it comes through, we will be discussing with the banks to see whether they can give us a 1:2 limit or something, which they were earlier giving. Mm-hmm. So that is the idea. From a capital perspective and all, obviously the board is looking at it and there have been promoters also looking at it. So appropriately we will inform as and whether there is something is coming out there.
Okay, and I have some questions. I often ask the same question maybe once or twice a year. We have a lot of old pending matters in service tax related, etc., and in Supreme Court and whatever, the litigation. So what exactly is the status, and I mean, any idea on clarity on when we might see some judgment, and do you think we have a fair chance of getting a positive?
Actually, if you look at it, now Supreme Court matters are, I think the case is getting listed. All service tax similar matters are getting listed. So that Supreme Court can take a view on that, whether it takes, that export of services and all matter pertaining to our old, 2005 to 2009 service tax issue. Now it is getting listed in Supreme Court. Obviously, last couple of months it was getting listed, but it is not getting heard. So, see, from a company's side, we will always be positive. But as I said, when a matter is sub judice, we cannot comment on a judgment.
Fair enough.
We feel that we have a strong case. That's what we believe in. And that is why it has gone up to the Supreme Court also, because this is a larger issue of how a certain matter is getting treated. From a company's perspective, we feel we have a strong case. And if you look at it, we had won it in the lower courts and all. We have got
that we are aware. The High Court won it, and now it's in Supreme Court.
Yeah, so we are confident. But as I said, when it's in court, we cannot decide which way it is going to go. Court will decide.
Finally, the matter is coming up for hearing soon. So hopefully in...
The last 3 months it has been coming up, but it's getting postponed because of urgent hearing and there are a couple of more pending matters like an insurance or one other matter, which is all getting delayed. Nothing because we are, in fact, one of the arbitration also we have won. But unfortunately, because of this COVID pandemic, courts have not been taking up the matter.
Fair enough.
So in some of the matters, we have done all the groundwork. But even today in Mumbai, urgent matters are only heard for the last couple of months. Now we are trying to push it through so that we can enforce the judgment and get back our monies. These are all old matters which you are aware of, which we are now pushing through, and we are hoping that with things opening up and courts resuming and taking up all the matters, we will have things in our favor.
Perfect. Noted. Right, sir. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nimish.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1. Participants, if you wish to ask a question, you may please press star and 1. As there are no further questions, I now hand the conference over to the management for the closing comments.
Yeah, I would like to thank everyone for joining this call. In case you have any queries, please visit our website or you can reach out to our company secretary. Thank you once again, and now request the moderator to conclude this call.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Wall Street Finance Limited, that concludes this conference call for today. We thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.